was always asking me to stuff and introducing me to people. And because definitely I would say until I was in my mid-30s, I was always in settings where people would say, this is Judy Carmichael, she plays piano, and people weren't even nice. They would just turn away. They wouldn't believe it. It's such a different time.
That must have been really tough.
Well, it was. It's interesting. I'm only thinking about it now. I'm writing a memoir, so I'm thinking about the years. It's on my mind because there's so many women instrumentalists now, and there's so many attractive women instrumentalists now, and who are taken seriously. I found that, jazz is one of the reasons I did some acting. One of the reasons I preferred jazz, one of the things that was great right away, is that no amount of lighting makes you sound good. You either play or you don't. There was an honesty to it that I adored. So I found with jazz musicians that the minute I played, it was okay, she's a player.
Right.
And those were the people that came and stuck up for me.
But you had to prove yourself.
I always had to prove myself.
Yeah.
Now, that I don't mind, because once you prove yourself, you're fine.
Sure.
One of the things that I preferred about New York to L.A. is that I never got that opportunity. Very often in L.A., they couldn't even hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I would play somewhere, and they still wanted me to wear the sexy dress
mm-hmm.
and play the part.
Mm-hmm.
And not an acting part, but I'd get the job in some club because I could look like I was out of a 40s movie or something. To where in New York, they might give me a really, really hard time and not believe I could play. But once I played, then everybody embraced me. So it was I really got the chance. And then the word got out. I would go somewhere and they'd say, oh, Roy Eldridge called me and told me to take you seriously. Or Sarah Vaughn called me and said, you're going to see this skinny blonde show up. It's not what you think. Let her play. So I guess in a way, eventually it wound up being something good because I stood out.
Do you enjoy that now, though? You don't look like you play? Do you think that's part of your appeal? That unpredictability? I was thinking, I'm really fascinated by this whole idea. I had the comedian Rita Rudner on the show, and she talked about how her style is very much rooted in the disconnect between her appearance and the way that she holds herself and what actually comes out of her mouth. And that's where the comedy is. And it's the separation between what you're saying and how you're presenting it. So wouldn't you say that truth is inherent in all art? That separation between the container and what you're actually expressing?
That's such a beautiful question. You're really good at this, Walker.
Thank you.
I mean it.
That's very sweet.
It's really, well, it's exciting, and I want to take time to say this because I've done a lot of interviewing, obviously, and I've been interviewed a lot, and it's the real interview is becoming a lost art, and it saddens me. It's one of the reasons I started my show, because when I was starting out, you'd have a real conversation, and the best interviewers made you think of things that maybe you hadn't thought of, which you're doing. And that's kind of stopped. Now when I'm interviewed most of the time, people just send me a series of questions that they want me to email back. There's no interaction.
Right.
So when I compliment you, I mean that in a deep way. It's a real throwback to a time when we actually used to have conversations.
It means a lot. I appreciate it.
No, I mean it. To answer your question, I've given this a lot of thought, so it's interesting. I think I do look like I play.
Huh.
And I'm very conscious that, you asking when you're talking about the contrast of that, the container and what you're saying, the only reason anybody ever has thought that I don't look like how I play is because they associated it with mainly Fats Waller, who was a 300-pound black man and also tall. But this is radio, so people won't know what I look like. But I think I'm a happy-looking person. I'm an athlete. I'm very energetic. That's exactly what the music is.
Yeah. That's true.
And what the surprise is now that I'm singing, which is only in the last few years, is that the songs I'm drawn to are not these energetic, rhythmic, swinging things. They're more ballads. But as a friend of mine pointed out, he said, well, it actually works too because the timbre of your voice is kind of melancholy. So these are the two sides that I have going on. So I have the other emotion in there, but I also have this energetic thing. So I think if people are paying attention, I do look like I play. And I'm also aware, like she was talking about the comedy thing, because I do that as well. I tell anecdotes and on stage. I'm aware of it because I think it would be ludicrous for me to sing a blues that wasn't ironic, because I can't imagine anybody looking at me and believing that I have any kind of blues.
Anything to be blue about.
Anything to be blue about. I mean, I live in Sag Harbor. I've been home. I've been on a tennis court every day. I travel the world playing the music I want. I'm the only musician you're ever going to meet who can say this with truth. I've never played Happy Birthday. I've only played the tunes I want to play.
God bless you.
It's a huge thing, and I'm proud of
Yes.
it. So I just don't look – I have had the blues, but I don't look like I've had the blues. So I think in certain cases you can't have a disconnect. I think part of what makes it work is – but I think you're right. I think people are surprised to see a woman playing some screaming boogie. So I think there is an appeal with that. I will agree with you on that.
Okay, so before we wrap up the show today, tune in next week for the conclusion of my conversation with Judy Carmichael. She'll be back on the show next week, so stay tuned for part 2. And if you're on Long Island, you can catch Judy Carmichael live this Sunday, September 14th, at the American Hotel in Sag Harbor, and you can purchase tickets online at judycarmichael.com.
Interview with the Artist comes to you from WBAZ Radio. Leave your comments and listen to past episodes on our website, interviewwiththeartist.com. Thanks for listening.